With the Equilibrium dungeon having been out for nearly a week now, many players have begun to get their hands on Heirloom, the dungeon exotic and newest addition to the combat bow collection. Today we will be doing a deep dive on the exotic to find out exactly how it works and if it's any good. Spoilers, it's both really good and really bad, depending on how you use it, but more about that later. Unlike with traditional combat bows, Heirloom does not allow you to collect your bolts like with the legendary variants. Instead, Heirloom fires high-powered explosive bolts which deal both impact and explosive damage. These bolts can be overcharged by aiming down sights for a certain amount of time and then firing. While aiming, you have a visual 3-segmented bar which increases the damage and explosion radius of your bolt for each charge level that you reach. Heat will slowly generate as you're charging, and each shot will also generate a certain amount depending on what charge level that you reach before firing. If your timing is perfect, you can fire 3 full charges before needing to reload, but if you delay by a single second, then you'll miss out and need to reload halfway through charging your 3rd shot. For reference, it takes roughly 2.19 seconds to fully charge. Damage-wise, you're dealing 777 at base, so no overcharge, and with max overcharge, you're dealing 1677, so roughly a 116% damage increase, which is double and some more. These damage values are from the normal shooting range with under 100 weapon stat, so these are the absolute raw damage values. The explosion damage from Heirloom is the same no matter if you shoot the body or crit spot, so while you do technically lose damage from hitting the body, it is not an impactful amount. While we're on the topic of damage, the Heirloom catalyst can boost your damage even more. Shots against a scorched target deal increased damage, which is 10%, and charged shots also apply scorch. You may be wondering how many shots are needed to ignite a target, and I've got the answer for you. Before I give it away though, you need to know that each charge level applies a different amount of scorch. It takes 5 1 charge level shots to ignite, like so. From that, as well as some other testing, we can come to the conclusion that the charge levels of your combined shots need to reach 5 to ignite the enemy. For example, and this is not an optimized example, but if you shoot an enemy with a single 2 charge level shot and then a single 3 charge level shot, like so, the target will ignite. For transparency, here are all the different combinations needed to ignite an enemy. Before I jump into the damage values, firing 2 shots per reload of Heirloom is definitely the way to go here. While you can shoot 3 per reload if your timing is perfect, it's risky as messing up will lower your damage per second and increase how long it will take to empty your gun completely. With that out of the way, what sort of damage are we looking at with Heirloom? Including the catalyst, we deal 43,262 damage with a pretty poor DPS of 530. It takes, on average, 1 minute and 23.34 seconds to empty the gun, which is a really long time. For comparison, with Spur of the Worm, the gun which is known for having a very high total damage and low DPS, takes 29.39 seconds to empty the gun, and that has the ability to regenerate ammo, which Heirloom does not. The final boss in the Equilibrium dungeon also has a damage phase lasting a max 30 seconds, so this exotic doesn't even have a chance to shine in its own dungeon. Now here's a question for you. Did you know that the new Hunter exotic, Fortune's Favor, grants extra bonus damage to heat weapons? Well, now you do. Typically, Fortune's Favor offers a 15% damage increase while you have an overshield, but this is bumped up to 20% with heat weapons. So like with Still Hunt, Heirloom has an exotic armor piece to pair with for more damage, which is why we'll be using Still Hunt as a direct comparison along with Fortune's Favor and Celestial Nighthawk. At base, Still Hunt deals 25,827 damage with a DPS of 903. It takes, on average, 30.52 seconds to empty the gun completely, which is nearly 2.5 times quicker than Heirloom. You may be thinking that the total damage is bad, so Still Hunt must be worse than Heirloom. That is not the case. Still Hunt is pretty much exclusively used with Celestial Nighthawk on Hunter, which turns the 3 golden gun shots into a high power single shot. With Celestial Nighthawk, along with 3 solar surges because we like big numbers, our total damage goes up to 50,416, with a very high DPS of 1,770. The time it takes to empty the gun doesn't really change at all. In my Celestial test, it took 30.42 seconds compared to the 30.52 seconds without. As we tested Still Hunt with Celestial, it's only fair that we compare the Celestial equivalent for Heirloom, which, as we discussed before, is Fortune's Favor. With this exotic, again with 3 solar surges, our damage goes up to 63,191 damage with a DPS of 825. From the damage testing we have done, we can see that with the appropriate exotics, Heirloom still beats Still Hunt in terms of total damage by around 10k. But still Hunt beats Heirloom in the DPS race, which in most encounters is most important. There really aren't any encounters at the moment where Heirloom has a chance to shine. While the damage is better than Still Hunt, the fact that it's only 10k better but takes nearly 48 seconds longer to empty the gun is actually quite appalling. We have forgotten something though, which could possibly turn this around. That is, Mobius Quiver. With the launch of Renegades, this was extensively updated. After activating the super and firing one volley, you gain a bar on the left of your screen which will increase from weapon damage. Once maxed, this will not only increase the damage of your next Mobius Quiver volley, but also the damage of all bow weapons while your super is still active and being drained. From the moment I use my super to when it expires, which is 16 seconds, Heirloom deals 24,111 damage, with a DPS of 1,870 in only 4 shots. This is most certainly better and actually quite good, but it then falls off once you've lost the Mobius Quiver buff. Heirloom is not an exotic that excels in super generation, so you're unlikely to get your super back in a damage phase, even if the phase is long enough to empty the gun completely. That is a lot of information we just ran through, so let me compress it all down into a bite-sized chunk that's easy to comprehend, hopefully. Heirloom has good total damage, but the time it takes to deal that damage is really not good. You can't really fit this into a damage rotation either, because there is no way to vent it while using other weapons, unless you use Marksman Dodge. If you're going to be incorporating a special weapon into your damage rotation, then you're better off just dumping rocket pulses. That being said, and hear me out, this weapon still has a place, just not in a raid or dungeon. Just because a weapon doesn't have a place in a damage rotation doesn't make it bad. So what place am I talking about? Basically everywhere except a raid or dungeon. Heirloom is an incredibly strong general play weapon. The explosion damage is great for taking out groups of red bar enemies, and the damage and radius grows with a charge. It is also great for taking out bosses, which sounds ironic, but I'm talking about bosses in activities like Nightmare Containment or the newly returned Grandmaster Strikes, where those bosses have nowhere close to the amount of health that a boss in a raid or dungeon has, which is where Heirloom struggles. Those bosses also typically have infinite time for damage, so you're not getting hindered because of the low DPS. This is, of course, all subject to change. It's possible that with some nerfs to rocket pulses and some other special weapons and maybe a slight buff to Heirloom itself, it could see potential use in a dungeon or raid scenario. That being said, that time is certainly not now. I believe I've gone through all the information that you need to know about Heirloom and all the information you'll need to come to your own conclusion on this exotic if you don't agree with mine, which is absolutely okay. Hopefully the format of this video was easy for you to follow. I'm always open to feedback because when I write these videos, it definitely feels at times like a big wall of info dumping, and that doesn't really result in a good video, but hopefully this one doesn't have that problem. As always, thank you for watching, happy holidays, have a great day.